Good afternoon and welcome to another edition of the Uplift. I'm Reverend Patti Paris and I'm here to pray with you and talk with you. So let's do the praying first. I know that there is one life. It is God's life. It is whole and perfect and complete. It is our life right here and right now. I know that the whole physical universe is the outpicturing of the mind of God, so that every planet, every star, every moon, every solar system and galaxy, I know that that too is the body of God. It is the natural and logical outpicturing of a sentient energy that absolutely desires to know of itself in form, to express itself in 3 dimensions and time. I know that all life everywhere is some undivided part of the whole life of God, right down to the grain of sand or a leaf on a tree or a blade of grass. I know it is a contemplation that Spirit is having. It is an idea, and it is an outpicturing in physical form of the mind of God. And what I know is true for everything I know is true for me, and I know is true for you, that each one of us, an outpicturing of the divine mind, a happening in God, an event that Spirit is having, whole, perfect, and complete in every way. We are the place where Spirit is showing up in form. It is all God. It is all good. And so it is. So good afternoon. Welcome back on this lovely Tuesday afternoon. I know that it's warm. It's warm. It's summer. Summer is finally happening. The June gloom is behind us, right? And the weather is warmed up, and here we are in our shorts and t-shirts, I hope. Hope you're comfortable wherever you are. I wanted to talk to you a little bit about what's on my Kindle. I thought we would start there. What's on my Kindle? And let me share with you some of the books that have been recent additions to my Kindle. I have the African American and Latinx history of the United States. Me and White Supremacy. This is an uprising. What doesn't kill you makes you blacker. Oneness. Waking up white. White fragility. I'm reading them all. That's not a title, that's me saying it. I am reading them all, one after another. Because here's what I know. Knowledge is power. Knowledge is power. We have to get into the issue. We have to understand our role in complicity in creating it. And so it will give us an idea on what our role is in demolishing it, dismantling racism in this country. So this idea that we have to know what it is we're dealing with. And I think for a lot of us, we don't know what we're dealing with us. For a lot of white folks, like I know for myself being born and raised in New York, I really didn't feel racist at all. I didn't feel like I had any subliminal racism running through me. I was born and raised in New York City. Everybody lived in New York City. I ran across all races, all cultures, all different peoples of every shade of skin. You know, New York City is the melting pot, right? And so I never really thought of myself as being subject to some kind of underlying racism. But that's why I'm reading. That's why I'm reading, to gain the understanding of what is this systemic racism that is alive in this country, that we are operating with, operating under, and not even knowing. So the idea of becoming a really good white ally to our friends and neighbors, to our brothers and sisters who are of color, we have to understand what it is we're dealing with. Now, Ernest Holmes said this in the Science of Mind textbook. We should think of our spirit as being some part of universal spirit, and that our minds are as open to divine influx. As any specific knowledge must come from the center of all knowledge, it follows that whenever and wherever the mind of the human is open to the divine influx, it will receive instruction directly from the center and source of all. Science, invention, art, literature, philosophy, and religion all have one common center from which, through experience, is drawn all knowledge. So that's where we go. right? We go to mind. We go to universal intelligence, and we draw from it universal knowledge. And I think we need to learn all we can about what has gone wrong in order to set it right. You know, we always claim, right? We claim we wish to be the change, right? We need to be the change we wish to see in the world, or some type of phrase that I think we attribute to Gandhi, but I don't know if he said it or not. I've never been able to really verify it. But we want to be the change we wish to see in the world, and that is a noble statement. But in order to be that change, we have to understand what we're dealing with. And you know, what I know is that history is written from the perspective of the victors. And in this country, the whites were the winners. That's just the way it was, you know? And so in looking back over it, I pulled out some of my old textbooks, or my old college and high school history textbook. It's good to be married to a history teacher. I had some of those old history books, and you know, some of the things that we learned in American history, for example, I don't know if you recall or not, remember the term manifest destiny. Manifest destiny was a thing, right? We were taught in high school history. The phrase was coined in 1845. It was the idea that the United States was ordained by God, right? To take over the West, you know, to be the westward expansion in the North American continent, to spread from one coast to the other, to conquer and convert the brown people that were here, to get them into line so that they would stop practicing their devil-worshiping ways and become good brown Christians, right? Manifest destiny, to spread democracy and capitalism across the country from sea to shining sea. That was what we were taught. That was our obligation, right, as good citizens of the United States. Reminds me of that poem by Rudyard Kipling, The White Man's Burden. I don't know if you're familiar with that or not. Rudyard Kipling wrote it in 1899, and as a matter of fact, he sent a copy of it to, I don't know who was the president at the time. Was it Teddy Roosevelt? Anyway, he sent it to the president and said, see, here's what the United States must do. It must take up the burden that was previously held by the British and, again, conquer and convert the world's brown people. And he was referring specifically to the war in the Philippines that the United States had been waging. And the quote-unquote white man's burden is to take over the burden of the empire and to conquer and convert the brown people of the Philippines, to take them under our control and to civilize them as you know, white people were meant to do throughout the world. Now, in this country, that showed up in the form of slavery, of course, you know, and don't you wonder, I wondered, why it is that southern states who depended on, of course, slave as cheap labor, as free labor, was also the Bible Belt of the United States. It seems odd, doesn't it, that the states in the United States that were the most quote-unquote Christian were the ones that were most pro-slavery. But if you think about it in terms of the white man's burden, and you think of it in terms of this manifest destiny, this type of, you know, burden that we were given, well, of course, it was the white man's obligation to keep the black and brown man under control, to enlighten them, to convert them, again, conquer and convert into good Christians. And, you know, there were so many ordained ministers in the South good ordained, well, good is subjective, ordained ministers in the Methodist and in the Baptist tradition who spoke to slavery in support of it. You know, ministers like Thornton Stringfellow, Nehemiah Adams, Thomas Atkinson, Thomas Bacon, Robert Baird, Samuel Baird, George Armstrong, Joseph Atkinson. I can go on and on because there were over 275 ordained ministers that either wrote books, wrote pamphlets, or gave sermons in support of slavery. In support of slavery, using the Bible as a reason, as their reason for being pro-slavery. They would pull out their King James version of Ephesians 6:5, which says, "Slaves, be obedient to them that are your masters, according to the flesh, with fear and trembling." And they would use passages like this to justify white people owning black people. It doesn't surprise me now in reading the history that Southern Christianity was so closely aligned with pro-slavery. It became Southern culture to know of themselves as superior to their workforce. It was reinforced every Sunday. They heard it from the pulpit that this was their obligation and their job to own people of color, to conquer and convert them, to subject them to these understandings. And so after the Civil War, when slaves were freed, the Jim Crow laws began. And what we had was the Southern culture, again, reasserting its dominance, reasserting its notion of white superiority over our brothers and sisters of color. And they did this by erecting those statues. Those statues weren't erected after the Civil War. It wasn't until the Jim Crow laws in the later years when they were erected to keep people in their place. So Ernest Holmes says this in The Science of Mind. He said, "We should be able to look at the wrong condition with the knowledge that we can change it. The realization that we have this ability must be gained by the application of our knowledge. We are here to know the truth. We are here to demonstrate the truth. We are here to look at the wrong condition and with knowledge, change it. With knowledge, change it." So it is our opportunity right now that we are entering a new civil rights movement. It is our opportunity to stand in the truth that we know as science of mind and spirit. We know our oneness. We know our unity. It is ours to stand in that unity and proclaim it from every rooftop. We are one. We are one. That there is no separation at all, that spirit has sought to know of itself in form, and we are that. Ernest Holmes said, "We are, therefore, members of the universe, and being members of that which unites everything, we are some part of each other." What a brilliant statement that is. What a statement of truth. There's one you can put up on your nightstand or in your mirror or on your sun visor. We are therefore members of the universe, and being members of that which unites everything, we are some part of each other. Let's pray out. I give great thanks for this time spent together. I know it is all God. I know it is all good. I know that we are a rainbow of colors. I know we are one in every shape and every size. I know we are one regardless of how we look. I know we are one regardless of what language we speak or what religion we profess. I know we are one. I know God is one. I know there could never be anything opposed to it. I know there is this one life. It is God's life. It is whole, perfect, and complete. It is our life now, and we go forth in that unity, knowing we are one. And so it is. Thank you for joining today. I know we have big and good work to do, so keep showing up, keep standing in the truth. I will see you next time on the Uplift. From my heart to yours vision, we are one. See you soon. Bye-bye.